Hello, and welcome along to the Kicker Smart Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm joined. He's back again, 3 weeks running. This is a world record, Jamie. How are you doing?
World record. I probably did about 40 weeks. Mate, how are you? I'm eating my dinner, so bear with me.
Yeah, we will bear with you. I'm good. And that smiley face there is Mr. Adam Foxcroft. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, it feels like it's been a while, chaps. Nice to chat to you again. You've not been churning out the usual 27 pods a week in the last few weeks. So it's good. It's good to see you that you're back out there.
Thank you. No, I did mention that last week. Actually, we had a bit of a hiatus for a while this season. That's just one of the things when you've been doing something for 2 years straight. You kind of need that bit of downtime away from it every now and then.
Definitely relate.
Well, we look forward to the long snapper back in September?
Yeah, if you're lucky. Yeah, around then.
Gents, did you? I take it you have both watched the Super Bowl, and what was your thoughts?
It went exactly as I thought it would. I didn't think they would blow the Chiefs out, but I've been saying for a couple of weeks that I thought the Bucs would win. And their D-line would get after Mahomes, especially after the Chiefs. O-line was an absolute mess. And it kind of just, I don't want to say went to plan, but it went to plan for Tampa Bay. But I wasn't surprised in the least at the result.
Well, I was. I'm not ashamed to admit that I thought the Chiefs would win. I thought it would be a close-ish game either way, though. And to see how... Yeah, I think you're right with what you say that the Bucs, it went to plan for the Bucs on both sides of the ball. And we had a debate on the Long Snapper podcast yesterday. Craig ended up arguing with Mark about Tom Brady and how much credit he deserved, but actually I sort of sat in the middle. I think Brady played well, but at the same time it wasn't Brady who stopped Mahomes and the Chiefs getting more than 9 points. So he could get just 9 points. So it both sides of the ball did their part for Tampa Bay, and it was a really convincing win. And it looked like unusually with the Chiefs certainly this season. It seemed like they weren't gonna get it going, and the game was over sort of around half time.
Yeah, it as you say, it wasn't all Brady. It was a real combined team effort. It was. Brady did what he needed to do. And if I'm honest, that's kind of what you want your quarterback to have to do rather than obviously run around like a madman like Mahomes was. Make it easy for your quarterback who is the greatest quarterback of all time. He will carve you up. And they established a run which helped them activate the play action. And it was a bit of a joy to watch a team. Literally, I think everything that Tampa Bay did went exactly how they wanted it to. It was just I really enjoyed the game as a pure neutral. Yes, I should really have wanted the Chiefs to win because it's Mahomes and the Bucs are in our division, but the Bucs aren't a rival to the Falcons. Never have been. The Saints are the rivals. The Bucs have always kind of, like the Panthers, they're kind of just like an acquaintance you don't like. But
that might change if they keep making the Super Bowl. But I mean, we alluded to it last night. They're not going to be a dynasty.
No.
Assuming Brady doesn't play till he's 50, although who knows? It's just
please no.
He was done a year ago, but yeah, now look at him.
Mahomes was clearly injured as well in this game.
Well, he was injured going in, but the first half he was perfectly fine. His movement was fine. It was the second half.
They got after him massively.
Yeah, but that's expected.
Yeah, and with the offensive line issues, missing the 2 tackles before the game, and it was nice. I thought, I'm with you, Jamie. Anyway, I thought it was a very good game for the neutral. I enjoyed watching it. I like defensive football, and defense wins championships.
I don't get the people who are like, oh, it was such a crap Super Bowl. No, it really wasn't. It genuinely wasn't. The thing that got me about Mahomes, which I thought that they would do coming into the game with their O-line, is get it in his hands and get it out quickly. Stop giving him 5-step drops.
Yeah.
He was dropping back, looking for that deep ball so much. He was spending. He kept hold of the ball too long. It should have been out the hands, quick, get down the field.
What I was surprised about is the fact that I'm no Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Well, I'm not a massive truther of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I do have concerns with him as a running back. But when he got going a bit in that second half, and then they'd just pull him out after one drive, which I didn't really get. They'd gain sort of, I don't know, like 15 yards with him, and then they'd pull him out and put Darrell Williams in. I just didn't really get what their plan was, to be fair, there. And
Andy Reid got out-coached. He was stubborn.
Yeah.
But if you're the Chiefs, I mean, it looked like they were getting some success running the ball, but you're down in a game. You're down in the Super Bowl, and you've got Patrick Mahomes. That's where you go, isn't it? Like, however much you're looking at analytics and so on. If you're the third quarter of the Super Bowl and you need to score some points, and you've got Patrick Mahomes, you put the ball in his hands, don't you? Regardless of how good you're looking on the ground.
I think that the Chiefs looked better in the ground to start the second half. Was a reason to that was the Bucs were expecting them to pass because of the situation and the score. So we're gonna if you're gonna run the ball, you're gonna run the ball. That's fine. We're just not going to let Mahomes rip us apart.
I think it was bad coaching, like you say, Jamie. It was the Bucs sold out to stop Tyreek Hill at the end of the day,
and Kelsey.
And they did. So why the Chiefs didn't establish the run earlier in the game, I do not know.
Because it's not what the Chiefs do.
No, but that's stubborn. You change your game plan, whatever.
Well, they probably had got the run established, but they didn't use it. Yeah.
No. Yeah. No, it does. But I'm very much on the same camp as you, Jamie. I enjoyed it. I don't have any hate towards Tom Brady. I just don't. It's like Manchester United, isn't it? Back in the day, it's easy to hate on someone that wins all the time, but he is great at what he does.
Oh, he's another level. What is he? 43?
Yeah,
something like that. I'm not saying I should hate Brady for the Patriots beating the Falcons in the Super Bowl. I don't hate him. I've never been a massive fan of his, but I've kind of grown to love him the older he's got.
Yeah.
Because you kind of just have to sit back and go, yeah, okay, fair play. Yeah, I could slag you off, but I would just look like a prick, which is what most people who slag Tom Brady off look like in my eyes. He's just appreciate him for what he is and what he's done. It's not hard.
Greatest big game quarterback ever?
Oh, by a mile. Yeah, for me.
Other than Eli beating him twice, I didn't want to bring that up.
Sorry?
Other than Eli beating him twice, but nobody wants to talk about that.
And Nick Foles beat him once. So.
I would say that both of those were on the defense.
Yeah, they were.
Oh, yeah, absolutely right. And going back to what you're saying, you didn't think it was a bad Super Bowl. Quality-wise, of course it wasn't, but it didn't have what I want from a big game like that, and that's an exciting finish. Yeah, the game was over. So if like as an edge of your seat contest that grips you right to the end, that wasn't it. And I love a defensive football game as much as maybe drawing a line at the Super Bowl 2 years ago, but at least that was close. This was over.
I can see where you're coming from with regards to that, but you flip it to the other side, and let's say that the Chiefs are 18 points down or 20 points down. They've got Patrick Mahomes. He can get that in a quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't feel like he was going to.
No, I totally agree it didn't, but kind of the exciting finish, it is great. It is kind of edge of your seat stuff. I don't know. I think after the Falcons Super Bowl, I don't really want exciting finishes.
You're broken, Jamie. You're broken.
Mate, at halftime, I was the only person in the bar in Seattle who was saying, "It's the Falcons. This game is not over."
And Jamie, you owe me a beer. What did I say?
I do owe you a beer.
I said Gronk was going in for 2 touchdowns.
That's perfectly fine. Congratulations.
Thank you. We will sort the beer bets out at one point. I'm sure I owe you a few as well.
Mate, I had a quick browse at them earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very complicated. there were quite a few beers. Kind of like, oh, I've won one. Oh God, I've lost 4 in a row. Brilliant.
All right, let's discuss what we got Adam on for, which is the Tennessee Titans and what we are doing with the Titans fantasy studs. So we started the quarterback position. We've been starting there all the time recently. So Ryan Tannehill, I don't know. I don't really know what you do with Ryan Tannehill at the minute. I would hold him if I had him. I don't think I'm selling him anytime soon to anyone.
Well, why would you? He's going to turn 33 this summer. He's given look at his career and what he's done. The majority of career he's been a Miami Dolphin and has we all know the Adam Gase narrative, and to a certain extent that's true. He's benefited. He's had an Indian summer of a career, hasn't he? He's gone to Tennessee, and I didn't expect him to be more than a really good backup to Mariota. It seems really silly looking back, but that's only 18 months ago when he signed to be a backup. But he's come in and he's lit the place up. The 9th scoring quarterback in PPR in 2020. 9th. There are 32 teams in the NFL, and he's in the top 10. I don't see a drop off. There might be one to come in 2 or 3 years potentially. He's into his 30s, obviously, but given his history and given the chips on his shoulder that and he plays with his heart on his sleeve now, I don't see anything but huge motivation for him. I would expect a similar season. There's a change of OC in Tennessee, but he's come from the place that Arthur Smith has come, which is a tight ends coach. And I don't think, as you say, if you've got him, why would you do anything but keep him? And you might equally be able to get him quite cheap given his age.
And unless you sell him, if someone's offering you the world, basically.
no one's going to offer you the world for Tannehill.
No.
But here you go. Here's one or the other, fantasy wise. Do you take Matt Stafford or do you take Ryan Tannehill? Matt Stafford, obviously, new coach, new team, probably you'd say better wide receivers than he had this year because Golladay wasn't fit.
Yep.
Or Tannehill, who has got new OC, probably a good chance of keeping the same wide receivers and tight ends around him this season. Who do you take, Stafford, or do you take Tannehill in fantasy this year?
I'd take Tannehill.
I suspect both of them, because of their ages, will be affordable. You like to focus on dynasty, on kickers matter, and I get that. But even in dynasty, there's always a place. You still want to win each year, or try to, unless you're in full rebuild. And Tannehill and Matt Stafford, actually, they're guys that they're probably. Stafford might seem a bit of a gamble because he's going to a new team, but he surely is improving what he's got around him.
Yeah,
and both of those QBs are going to make you competitive, surely, at not a huge price.
For me, it's a toss-up. I think if you've got Stafford or you've got Tannehill, you're fine. Either way, I think at the moment, if you have got Stafford, you can probably trade him to the Tannehill owner for Tannehill and something. So you can add. If you don't think there's much between Stafford and Tannehill, and you can, let's say, I'll give you my Stafford for Tannehill and a late second. So what you're doing is, in my mind, I'm not really changing my quarterback. They're probably going to be pretty much the same kind of ranking wise, and I'm getting a kind of a bit of a punt pick that I can pick up a kind of back end of the second round wide receiver or running back and see what they do. So you're kind of accumulating, if that makes any sense.
I think if you've got Stafford and you can get a bit more by trading with Tannehill, I would.
You will.
Yeah.
You definitely will now with the move.
I definitely think you get a lot more for Stafford at the minute. I mean, we're going to move on to the wide receivers and the tight end situation.
One thing I'd mention on that you get with Tannehill, or you've certainly had in 2020, and I don't see that changing. You get a few rushing touchdowns.
Yes, you do.
And you look at, I can think of 3 or 4 games where Tennessee have done this, and it's that. Jack, you love a goal line situation, and you love it when the Titans don't use Derrick Henry on the goal line, but they've called this play with almost unequivocal success,
and no one's ever near him.
No one's ever near him because you're defending Derrick Henry on the goal line, but it's actually an alternative that works. The bootleg, whatever you call it, suddenly nobody realizes Tannehill's got the ball before he's in the end zone because the defense is so fixated on stopping Derrick Henry. And yeah, I'm sure someone will blow it up at some point, but it's still not a huge risky play, especially if it's not fourth down. It's not always been used on fourth down. But he'll get those touchdowns, and they they will put his score up, obviously.
Yeah, no, I agree. Jamie, like I say, I think Stafford will cost you a little bit more than Tannehill just because of where he's gone. But maybe, like you say, that is certainly a situation to pounce on. Go and get Ryan Tannehill.
I think, with Tannehill is efficient. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He's efficient, and let's say in Superflex, if he's your QB1, in honesty, you're probably a kind of a bit. But if he's your QB2, you're through. You got to be happy as anything with Tannehill, because
as I said, ninth highest scorer in 2020, assuming that doesn't drop off, and I don't think it will particularly, not massively.
Jack, here's a question: would you have Tannehill in your? Let's just say for next year. So I know with Dynasty and everything, but let's just talk next year, for example. Is Tannehill in as a QB1? Is he in your top 12? For me, I haven't done mine, but I'm probably going between the.
I've done my top 10. He's not in my top 10.
No, he's probably between 12 and 14, I would guess, for me.
Yeah. If you're looking purely at next year, then yes, he would be. But if you're with Dynasty and age factored in, then no.
Yeah. Dynasty, he's probably in the 15 to 19 range. Probably, but I reckon he's got 3 years at least.
Like Adam says, if I'm playing redraft, I would quite happily take Ryan Tannehill as a top 10 quarterback.
That's fair.
Quite happily. But for Dynasty, I would have him, like you say, Jamie, between 12 and 14.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that I don't play as many leagues as you guys do. Nobody normal does. But if I've got someone like Stafford or Tannehill or a QB in particular with that sort of age, I'm not worried. No, you can pick someone up in a couple of years. I think too much is made of somebody's age sometimes, especially in that position.
Yeah, I think if you're selling the trying to trade away the Staffords, the Tannehills, even the Aaron Rodgers, that kind of those at age and upwards, you're either A, you're tanking and you're trying to rebuild, or B, you're trying to sell at the top of their value.
Yes.
There's no point just selling for the sake of selling.
No.
But those sort of players don't have that much value. So, it's like the old. I can't believe I'm about to use this analogy, but the old banger of a used car, it's got more value to you than it will for someone else buying it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't believe I did that.
let's move on to the running backs, and it's my favourite, Mr. Derrick Henry, the milk float. This is a bit of a crowded running back room if you look on here at the minute. It's Jeremy McNichols, who was seeing touches at the end there. Dante Foreman, I used to like Dante Foreman when he was at the Texans. You got Darrington Evans, the rookie. I mean, Derrick Henry, I eat my words. I bet them for the last year, and it doesn't matter that he doesn't catch it, which he has been as well. He's been catching passes this year, which is even more impressive. But,
he doesn't need to. It's funny. We've had like a bet every year for certainly the last 2 or 3 years about essentially whether he'll do better each year, and he keeps doing better each year. I think this might be the point where I'll admit that he's probably not going to get another 2,000 yard rushing season, partly because nobody else has done it back to back, and it's a ridiculous achievement. Just for maybe he's peaked, but at the same time, I don't think he's going to suddenly disappear off the radar.
I'll say about Derrick Henry in the 2,000 rushing yards. If there was going to be anyone who was going to do it, it's probably Derrick Henry. Secondly, I think you have a new offensive coordinator who's jumping in, who's going to want to use. It's going to be difficult to follow up what Arthur Smith did and has done there. So, what's better than just giving the ball to your 19 million fucking stone running back to run over people 30 times again? Seriously, I'm genuinely, I really would not be surprised if he did 2,000 again next year. I really wouldn't. Why would you not give him the ball 25, 30 times a game?
The only reason I don't think you'll do it again is because it's such a phenomenal achievement and so many things have to go your way. It's also the fact that he can't, as many Alan Sampson do the Titans want Carson Wentz. I'm all right, thanks, Alan.
Alan, I don't think anybody wants Carson Wentz right now. Not even his mum.
I'd have him at the Giants, to be fair. But there you go.
Yeah, he's an upgrade somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're offering, or what's going the other way there. But Derrick Henry. The thing about it is, I'm not saying he's not going to go for 2,000 yards again, because I think he's done. Far from it. I think he'll probably go close again, because he's not. I don't see him like other running backs. Eddie George was if you look at the Titans Twitter feed, you'll find some comments from Eddie George, who you'd like to think knows what he's talking about in that area. Just saying he's just durable. He's not. Don't look at his workload. Just look at how tough he is. But actually, his workload isn't as dramatic as you might think. He's 27 now. He's had 5 years in the NFL, and only 2.5 of those have been as a starter. So he was behind DeMarco Murray in the first couple of years of his career, somewhat ludicrously behind Dion Lewis for part of the following season. So he's only had those real miles on the clock in the last 2 or 3 years, and he just doesn't. It doesn't seem to bother him. How you look at the collisions he takes, he doesn't often come off worse than the other guy.
I do think he looked worn out in that playoff game this year.
Yeah, I think he probably wasn't the only Titan at that point. I don't look at him and worry that he's taken too many poundings.
But importantly,
do you know what I mean?
We don't give a shit about the playoffs.
No, we don't. No, I'm just saying.
We do.
No, I'm just saying. Look, I'm wrong. I was wrong on Derrick Henry. I know what the problem was with Derrick Henry, and that's the head coach of the Green Bay Packers was the problem with Derrick Henry. But
it's not just that. He's improved his game as well.
Yeah, he has.
His attributes are obviously incredible. Like, everybody knows how big he is. I still think people don't appreciate how fast he is. There aren't many faster of any size.
Once he gets past that first initial 10 yards, that's it. It's just
Okay. His acceleration might not match smaller guys, but once he gets going, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But he's learned. Initially, I think that's all he was. That might be. I'm not criticizing him at all, but I don't think he had enough sort of savvy to. He'd miss gaps and stuff really early in his career, and he's learned so much, and he's improved incredibly as a player. Not beyond the physical attributes. He's the pass catching, which might be a running joke for us, but I don't care. I mean, as far as fantasy goes, it's the pass catching, which means he wasn't the leading fantasy point scorer in but that's only in PPR, and he was third.
Yeah.
You're probably doing all right with a third highest scoring running back in PPR. Sure. Yeah, you don't care how the points come. I don't know. Like you're probably going to talk about whether you want to try and buy or sell him. He probably comes at too high a price. And if you've got him, you probably quite like the points he's getting you. It's one of those. If
I was in a rebuild, then I'd sell because running backs will eventually just fall off a cliff. Look at Todd Gurley.
It's all timing though, isn't it?
Slightly different. That's
it's timing. It's always timing. Like I sold Christian McCaffrey last year in one league in an off season. Again, I was rebuilding, but I sold him to try and get the highest amount of value. Maybe in hindsight, with that injury this year, you never know. It looks a bit of a smart move, but just there's never a right time. What I'm saying is you need to try and capitalize when the value is highest. It's not. There's never a right time to do it. You might be wrong. You might be a year too early, but you might be. I'd rather be a year too early than early, 2 years too late.
Yeah. I think with Gurley is
no. I'm not. I'm just using a running back as an example.
No. I totally agree. If I'm in a rebuild and I've got a Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
If you're in a rebuild and you've got Derrick Henry, I'm not sure what's gone wrong. Firstly,
yeah.
But secondly, if for example you're in a rebuild, you've got Henry, you've got some older players.
Hi Mark.
Hi Mark. So you've got you had a Drew Brees.
What are you doing here, Mark? The long snap. I nearly mispronounced my own podcast name. It's a much better production. You want to go and listen to that? There's an hour and a half bumper pod out there. Don't waste your time listening to this. No, carry on, Jack.
Definitely don't. But if too much Mark, yeah. If you let's say you had like a Breeze or a Rivers at running back, and you've got a Julio or something at wide receiver, and you're concerned about the injuries, and you just think, do you know what? I want to blow this up a bit. If I've got Derrick Henry, I am going after teams that have got Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders. I'm even going after Zeke in a trade, potentially go after Kamara as well. Yeah. The team has got Kamara. I'm just trying to think who else. If I'm honest, you might be able to look at Saquon.
What about one of the rookies, like a Jonathan Taylor?
I don't think anyone's going to.
Well, what I'm saying is, say that Jonathan Taylor's on the championship team. Say he's just got him stashed there on his bench because he's got whatever. Maybe you go to someone like that and go, "I'll give you Derrick Henry for him." And see. I'm just putting something out there.
But all of the people the players I listed,
you
want to go in, going, I want Mixon, I want Sanders, and I want your first, and you can have Derrick Henry. You've just got to play the game. That is a slight overplay for probably for Henry that they're going to think of, but I don't think it's going to be far away. If no one's going to do a straight swap of Mixon for Henry, I reckon you could get DeAndre Swift and something as well.
Yeah, that's maybe just you do something like that if you're in a rebuild. But like you say, if you've got Derrick Henry on your team and you're in a rebuild, well, what the hell?
Drop us a message. We'll help you.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably need help. That the comparison with McCaffrey and his injury, Jack, that you mentioned, like you can't predict injuries.
No, of course you can't. No.
But yeah, Henry's probably at the peak, or he's past the peak of his value, maybe. But he's far from done. If you're competitive, you wanna keep those points.
For sure. But what I'm saying is it's important for me as a dynasty player I'd rather be a year too early on them running backs than a year too late like Todd Gurley. That's what I'm getting at with it when I'm selling. Because they fall off a cliff. Running backs, look at LaShawn McCoy, what, I don't know, 3-4 years ago? Was probably
the falling off a cliff thing. I just think if there's someone that breaks the mold, it's him. I think you might have thought he would have fallen off a cliff a year or two ago. But yeah, he's just seen another cliff a bit higher, and he keeps doing that. It's just that it's how dominant he is, and he just, as Eddie George said, that I alluded to, he just doesn't seem to take punishment in quite the same way.
No, I'm not going to compare these two because you can't. But Tom Brady's been falling off a cliff for the last 4 years.
Quarterback's a bit different, mate. But yeah,
exactly. But you know what I mean. I think the only thing that's going to hamper Henry in the next couple of years, 3 odd years, is a knee injury, or an ankle injury.
Well, touch everything. Any injuries? He's had a couple of hammies, but he's not had those. You can't. You just hope that doesn't happen. You hope that doesn't happen to anybody. Look at Saquon. Exactly. Hopefully Saquon's young enough to come back strong. But it's that would be devastating. But it can happen to anybody.
What about the other running backs here? I'm not obviously. I'm thinking Darrington Evans for a fantasy dynasty point of view.
I like Evans. I don't think you're going to see even in his second year that much. You might see a bit more from him. We've used, and I said a year ago that the Titans should try and get a bit of help for Derrick Henry just to prolong his career, and we sort of pretended to try and do that a bit, but we need to keep doing that. And whether that, I suspect it might be someone from a very low round pick in the draft or someone in free agency. But Darrington Evans will be into his second year. You'd expect him to improve, have a few more touches, be involved a bit more. Jeremy McNichols as well, potentially. Foreman is a free agent. And that's something the Titans haven't really done well. Partly, I mean, third down on both sides of the ball, the Titans have probably struggled a little bit. When you've got Derrick Henry, it can look a bit predictable in general on your offense. But yeah, if you take him out on third down, especially if it's like a 3rd and 4 type down. And you take Henry out of the game and you stick McNichols in, the defense knows it's probably not going to go to him most of the time. So it becomes a bit predictable. That's something I think we've got to do better. And there's a new OC, so that may happen. I suspect you'll see more from Darrington Evans.
Maybe it's just someone to look if he's on your on your waivers in the Dynasty League or something, because there was a little bit of off-season buzz about Evans coming into this year. If he's on, I don't know, even if you want to try and acquire him, I don't think it's going to cost you a lot. What, 4th round pick, Jamie? Something like that?
Yeah, something like that. But what I would say about any of these other running backs, don't expect anything.
No.
Seriously, you are literally, if you're going to try and get him, you're getting him for literally you're hoping for an injury, or you're planning 3 years in advance. And fair play if you're planning 3 years in advance, but
it's just getting lucky with those sort of guys, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a crapshoot.
Let's have a look at the wide receivers then. So we've got AJ Brown, obviously.
Mini Julio.
He's a top 10 dynasty asset for me. Corey Davis and Adam Humphries. Well, Humphries and Davis are going to be free agents. Be interesting to see what the Titans do.
Humphries isn't. Humphries is.
Is he not? I thought he was.
No, he's. Problem with Humphries is I have big concerns about the concussion he had midway through the season. Big concerns. Now, I hope I'm wrong. But if I've got Humphreys in any dynasty league, I'm not expecting too much from him in the future. Shall I say that?
I had high hope for him this year.
Yeah, I did. I've always liked him, and that hit he took, which concussion's a weird thing, but you know, most players recover relatively quickly from them, but sometimes they can linger, and that was one that lingered. He came back 2 or 3 weeks later, played sort of half a game, wasn't quite right. IR for the season. It worries me, but. Yeah, I don't even know if he comes back. He's under contract. I hope he does. I hope I've read this wrong and that he's going to be okay. But yeah, I'm not holding too much hope for him. Corey Davis is the big free agent, though. That's the big question mark for the Titans in the offseason. It's whether he gets re-signed. There are other names that need to be dealt with. The Titans, like any team in any offseason, you're not going to hang on to everybody because you can't afford to. Davis has done.
I loved him this year.
He stepped up. He didn't get given the 5th year option, which I think was the right call going back. But he did step up in year 4, and it just lacked a bit of consistency. He's prone a little bit to the odd drop, despite him stepping up. He had 1 or 2 personal issues, not the kind of personal issues that would raise red flags. His brother died of cancer during the season, which that's going to affect anybody, and why would it not? So that may have affected his performances, and it's hard to judge on something like that. I love Corey Davis. I'd love for the Titans to hang on to him. He might just prove a bit too expensive. If I'm talking about Corey Davis in fantasy, I think wherever he ends up, he's somebody you should be interested in.
I think
with the Giants, I've been saying that for a while. I do think he could be he can be a wide receiver 1 for a team. I do. I still do. Career high yardage this year in receiving yards.
Adam, why do you think he had a career high yardage this specific year?
I think there's.
That's not the answer.
Last year, mate.
My answer to that.
No, I'm just saying AJ Brown was there last year.
Yeah. I think he's going for the money, boys. Players turn up when they're in a contract year. I'm just saying, running backs have a real tendency to do that. I'm not slating Corey Davis because he had a very, very good year, but it's quite coincidental that he turned up when he's due a contract.
He wouldn't be the first.
I know, exactly. Is he going to get a contract and then kind of go back to how he was? I'd hate that. I want him to step forward. I think he can be a solid wide receiver too, but
I don't think
a great season where you drafted him in fantasy as well.
I don't think he's that type of guy. I think there's an element here that AJ Brown in his rookie year went not under the radar. People knew who he was, but he got noticed a bit later, if that makes sense. So there's a bit of a lag. 2020 teams were ready for AJ Brown. Their focus was on him, and Corey Davis probably picked up a bit of that slack, not getting so much attention. Whereas in previous years, Davis was our WR1 on the Titans, and perhaps shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
But once AJ Brown stepped up, the attention had gone away from him. And I think he benefited from that.
Is Corey Davis similar to a Juju? Good wide receiver 2, can't be a wide receiver 1.
Maybe I don't feel they're the same type of player, really.
Sorry, I don't mean as in the same how they both play the position. I mean kind of as in Juju was kind of thrust in after Antonio went. Everyone moved. Juju was their wide receiver 1. Everyone had huge high hopes for him, and it didn't happen.
He let you down.
He's a better wide receiver 2 than he is a wide receiver 1 because he's shown that. It might change going forward, but I'm wondering if Corey Davis needs that another alpha on the outside who is going to take the top DB to leave Corey Davis to be able just to put up great numbers and be good.
I think there's probably truth in that. It might depend on the landing spot. If it's somewhere, it's defenses are always going to focus on a wide receiver one, whoever you're playing, I suppose.
If I'm honest, I had the same concern about Ridley. I thought Ridley could. I didn't really think he could be a wide receiver one size and everything like that. When Julio was out this year, he proved he could be. So I hope that Corey Davis can take that step forward, be a wide receiver one for a team, whether it be the Giants for Jack or whether it be for, I don't know, just trying to think of another wide receiver needy-ish team. Maybe if he goes to the Jags.
Yeah.
Is he a fit there with
It'd be nice if he went there with Trevor.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Oh, that would be very nice for fantasy. Sorry.
Or the Texans or the Colts. Get rid of T.Y. Hilton and bring in a...
he finished 18th amongst all wide receivers.
What about the Saints? Or the Saints or the... Yeah, the Saints.
That's fine because he'll still only see about four targets a game because Michael Thomas will be having 37 targets at him.
Slant boy himself.
No, I think and Saints would be an interesting landing spot for him. Genuinely, they've got Sanders. Whether or not they keep him, who knows? Who else have they got?
Yeah, Traquan Smith.
Yeah, Harris. Nah.
Anyway, we're talking about the Titans here. So yeah, Davis finished 18th amongst all wide receivers in receiving yards in 2020.
Yeah, when he's the wide receiver too, that's decent, isn't it? It's although partly it's AJ Brown, Corey Davis, and there wasn't much else behind them in that position at Tennessee. But it's.
But you could get Davis in startups and then literally with your last pick, and you're talking about a guy, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago when he first sort of broke onto the scene for the Titans. I mean, I've seen in some dynasty startups 2 or 3 years ago when he was going in the top 10 picks. So,
yeah, he was taken too low in all formats in 2020, and so that I think that those things yo-yo a little bit. So we'll probably go too high next year, but
I'm looking at Davis in one league that was drafted last year, and he went this was a super flex. He went 11.03.
That's early.
He went 11.03.
That's early.
It was Tim.
That is early because
Tim likes him.
Yeah, I was picking him up very, very. And I am literally saying the last round.
I think I traded for Corey Davis at just before last year's draft in the league, and I think I paid a 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
Or something. But he was 30th wide receiver overall this year, PPR. His best year of his career. So hopefully he continues that upward kind of
still only 26 as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's definitely. I think he's still a buy. So if you can get him,
I think if you're gonna buy him, no, you need to buy him before free agency. You've got to take that chance. If you want him, I'd get him before he either re-signs with the Titans or signs for another team. Because if he signs for another team, his price is going like that.
Yeah.
Higher and higher. So it's a bit of a risk. So yeah, I'm not selling him if I've got him.
No.
Just because of the free agency.
And
what about AJ Brown?
Yeah.
In that same regard, he's not going to come cheap.
AJ Brown's a top 10 dynasty asset for me. I don't. He's I loved AJ Brown. He was my number one receiver in that class before the landing spot. I did get the landing spot. I'm not going to lie.
But we did say, Jack.
Yeah, we did.
As long the landing spot will be fine when Tannehill comes in.
Yeah, and that proved correct because when Tannehill come in, he had a very good end to his rookie campaign.
You're shutting out that a 50-plus yard touchdown reception thrown by Mariota against the Falcons. I realize that you've had the therapy. It's fine. But what you're saying is true. Yeah, him and Tannehill have just gelled, and that it's been a match made in heaven. That guy is just it's something else to watch. I mean, the touchdown against Baltimore this season, where there are only 11 players on the field for Baltimore at any one time, but I think he broke at least 15 tackles on that play. It's just incredible, and the yards after the catch is ridiculous.
When he runs, when he gets into open space, when he gets up to full speed, he's so he looks like Julio Jones. He's big, he's powerful, and you don't think anybody's going to stop him.
And kind of like that's why he wears number 11 as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's only 23. He had 11 touchdowns this year.
And also he wasn't fully fit at any point from week 1.
No.
He's had minor knee surgery brings alarm bells, but it shouldn't. It's been some minor surgery that he's had, and that should sort him out. Imagine what he can do fully fit.
Jamie, I'm going to ask you a question. People might smirk at this question.
Yeah.
I know you like Russ as well.
I don't have any pants on, no. Sorry, that wasn't the question.
I know you like Russ as well, but I mean, a lot of people are saying DK Metcalf's their wide receiver too in Dynasty. That is, well, he's not for me, but DK or AJ?
Honestly, just DK.
They're great mates with each other. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
They're constantly blowing smoke up.
Yeah. I think the thing that kind of sways me a little bit is I'm a huge fan of both of them. I would happily have I want both of them on my dynasty rosters. I think with DK is Russell Wilson. I'm not throwing shade on Tannehill, but it's Russ. I think the fact that it sounds like he's getting more input into coaching, as in he had an input into the offensive the OC, the new OC. Seattle are a running team, but I've seen
Tennessee are a running team. It's a great comparison.
Yeah, I would have DK probably. I wouldn't want to choose. I really wouldn't. If someone sent me an offer,
it's closer than what people would want to make it out to be. Because, like I say, I see DK as a wide receiver dynasty number 2 on a lot of people's rankings. He's not that for me. He's certainly a top 10. He's certainly a top 10 asset, but I just think it's a little bit closer than what people think.
I think a lot of people who are saying, "Oh, it's DK, it's DK, DK." I bet you, if you made an offer to them, that that offer would be sitting there for a day while they were like, "I don't know what to do. What am I going to do?" It's a lovely proposition to have. Don't get me wrong. But here's a question for both of you. Well, not a question. I'm going to just list a couple of wide receivers, youngish wide receivers or top wide receivers, and in Dynasty, you tell me who you want. Okay, I'm going to start with last year's wide receiver 1. Do you want Devontae Adams or do you want AJ Brown?
I want Adams.
Adam's face is like, oh God.
Well, I'm going to get pelters if I don't say AJ Brown. But AJ Brown's younger.
Yeah, he's younger. Okay,
no, not from you guys. It's any other Titans fans who know me might. No,
on a 3-year window, in the next 3 years,
it's Adams for me. If you're going to work on a 3-year window, it's Adams.
Given any uncertainty in Green Bay, I don't know.
Okay.
So Adams won't be there after next year.
All right, Stephon Diggs.
3. Actually, no. Okay.
Okay.
Stephon Diggs.
Stephon Diggs. Who do you want? Stephon Diggs in Dynasty over the next 3 years. Let's say 3 to 4 years. Let's call that because that's my window that I'll play my teams on.
You keep moving the goalposts here.
Okay, I'll go 3 years. It's fine. 3 years. Stephon Diggs or AJ Brown.
Diggs. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, Diggs,
but Buffalo are just going. It's all in the right direction. It's
Diggs, isn't it?
It is Diggs.
It's so horrible. Okay, I think this is pretty easy. DeAndre Hopkins or AJ Brown?
No, AJ Brown.
It's AJ Brown.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill or AJ Brown?
AJ Brown. There's too much.
I'm taking AJ Brown.
Hill shares. They share it around too much in Kansas City,
and we don't know if what Hill's going to do off the field.
Yeah, I'm not a massive. I don't have a lot of shares in Tyreek Hill anyway, so yeah, I'll go with AJ Brown.
Calvin Ridley or AJ Brown?
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown.
I'm taking Ridley.
Do
you know why? Do you know why? I probably wouldn't have taken Ridley until I had seen what Ridley can do as the wide receiver one when I didn't think he could do that. When Julio was out, Ridley was ridiculous. That's the only reason I go Ridley. It's the only reason. Because I think we've had a little snippet of what he can do, but it's
difficult with Atlanta because we don't really know how they're going to look a year from now with a new head coach. I didn't even mean Matt Ryan particularly, but yeah, just a new setup there. But these are nice problems to have. All these guys that you're talking about, I'd say.
Justin Jefferson or AJ Brown.
Oh, now you are putting at my heartstrings. Oh dear, it's AJ Brown, but you have really pulled at my heart. You really have.
I suspect you're going AJ Brown.
Yeah, I have to, obviously.
Yeah, I'm AJ Brown. One more. Let's go.
I'm struggling to think who you could come up with that you haven't mentioned already that I'd take ahead of AJ Brown. I don't know. There's a challenge.
I'm trying to think. Here is a challenge. Remember 3-year window.
But
Allen Robinson or AJ Brown?
AJ Brown.
Yeah. Cool. I'm out. That's me. I'm done. I'm done. No more players.
Let's move on to the tight ends then. And well, you got Anthony Fursker, who always vultures touchdowns.
I'll tell you. I'll give you one thing. They're all free agents, every single one of them. Right.
So Johnny Smith's the one I think everyone wants for Dynasty. But yeah,
he was disappointing for a lot of this season.
He had a lot of injuries, though, didn't he?
He got hurt. Not seriously. I think he missed a game or two, but he's had niggles, and there was definitely a drop off.
Yeah. There are lots
given the way that
position, like for tight end, they're normally nice for fantasy. The Titans. We had Delaney Walker before this for years, so
it's a position that Tennessee has always loved. Like going back the entire virtually since becoming the Titans, we've always loved a tight end. It's one of those weird things like Frank Wycheck, Delaney Walker. We've always had that outlet, and actually, you look back at the wide receivers in Tennessee's history, and AJ Brown's probably the number one already. It's one of those things. It's always been like a position for Tennessee, and Brown and Davis coming up with so much in 2020 is maybe moved away from the tight end position a little bit. Might be to do with Jonnu Smith's injury, and he's looked so good and stepped up when Delaney Walker was injured and then has retired. But I don't know. The contract uncertainty is an issue. I'd like to think that Jonnu Smith will be brought back. He's certainly earned that.
Yeah.
New offensive coordinator Todd Downing, which is, as I've alluded to, another tight ends coach. So you'd think he's going to love a tight end. And Tennessee have sort of used 4 in 2020. How many teams have used 4 tight ends relatively regularly? And weirdly, all of them seem to be free agents. But Jonnu Smith's the main one. We love Anthony Ferkser, but Anthony Ferkser isn't particularly fantasy relevant, even with the best will in the world. He's a sort of guy that will turn up on a big key third down and just be absolutely reliable. He's great. He'll come up with the odd touchdown, but it is all about Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, he's the only fantasy relevant player you should be rostering. Tight end wise, don't even bother with the others.
If Jonnu Smith ended up anywhere else, I'd be very keen on trying to get whoever ended up being the tight end 1 at Tennessee. But I suspect and I hope that we can hang on to him.
He's a phenomenal athlete.
Yeah.
But he's so quick. Play him running back. Put him as the RB2.
Well, he's lined up at running back, and reeled off a couple of big gains there.
I think, Jack, you'll agree, and Adam, it's Jonnu Smith and nothing else.
Yeah, for me. I mean, I don't know where you've got. I know you haven't done your rankings. I think I've just got him outside my top 10 at the minute, Jonnu.
He'll be around the 10th spot, I would have thought. I think if Corey Davis goes, I think that bumps him up.
For sure, yeah. Mm-hmm. It'd be interesting what you could buy. I've not really seen any deals involving Jonnu Smith, so it'd be interesting to see what you could go and buy him for currently.
But if Corey Davis goes or if Jonnu Smith goes, the Titans will be looking in possibly in free agency for either of those positions to replace them. If not, obviously the draft. So the Titans pick.
Yeah.
22.
Yeah, I think that'll just be out of reach for Kyle Pitts, someone like that.
Mate, I'm saying Kyle Pitts. Some people want Kyle Pitts to the Falcons at 4.
Yeah, that'd be ludicrous. So
that'd be stupid.
Do not need to draft a tight end. No. That'd be ludicrous.
If I'm going to say one thing, if Jonnu Smith can go anywhere this year, if he leaves Tennessee, Adam, I apologise. If he decides to leave fantasy, where do you want him, Jack?
The Texans, if Watson stays there.
I don't think Watson's going to. Adam, where would you think would be a good spot for fantasy for him?
I'm not sure who's staying at the Texans. I'm in line for a call. I think. I don't know. Out of the AFC South for start. Stop this Texans nonsense.
Get him with Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, dear.
I always think the Jags. Weirdly, despite what I've just said, but that would make Pat happy, as he's teased me a week or so ago about that. But I could actually see that, as silly as it sounds.
I'm leaning get him to the Cardinals. Give Kyle a little bit more help. A big target.
Yeah, it would be nice.
There's too much talk of players leaving Tennessee, which I don't like. I'm not a fan of that.
It's not our fault.
Well, it's the weird thing about it is that there could be the odd casualty because we've got bigger problems on defense. And I know this isn't a podcast about talking about the Titans defense, but there are areas that need to be addressed there. There are free agents on defense. We've got big problems there that need to be addressed. And that might mean that we can't pay everybody ultimately. Unless
you're the Saints or the Rams, and then you can just pay everyone whatever you want them. Want to give them.
It's
anyway,
not.
Adam, I don't know what you're on about. I actually won an IDP championship this year. Thank you very much. I'm a bit more clued up on defense than, well, there you go. Thanks to Fred Warner and the 49ers. So, so that was our state of the franchise look at the Tennessee Titans. We hope that helped you for fantasy. Boys, do you have anything else to get off your chest this week? Adam, we'll start with you.
I've surely done enough of that.
Well, you're kind of a big deal now. How many podcasts are you on this now?
Just I was gonna say just the two without sounding like a yeah.
Hey, Gavin, here's a question for you. What's Titans' record next year? What would you be happy with? Is it playoff or total disaster?
Yes.
Positive. Like
It's one of those things. No, it's all down to this. It's all down to the defense, and I have big concerns about what we've done already. In that, from 2020 of not having a defensive coordinator to hiring the guy in 2021 who was the most senior coach on the staff, and largely calling the shots. It's been terrible, and it could blow a big opportunity with the players that we've got on offense. It's a win.
Out of retirement.
So
if only you'd managed to get someone out of retirement.
Yeah, quite, quite. You compare the 29 defense under Dean Pease with 2020. It's so different. And so some of the personnel has changed, but what I loved about Dean Pease was it wasn't about the superstars. They were so well coached, and the scheming, and it didn't matter who you were playing, and it didn't matter either if you'd struggle in the first half. Dean Pease he'd work out how to adjust things in the middle of a game. Yeah. And you've got a good one. You've got two good ones.
Finally, we need something defensive. It's kind of always been that kind of hope that we might get a good defense, because we haven't had a good defense in God knows how long. We've got good players. It's just defensively they just can't work together. So hopefully Dean Pease will be able to do something. Fingers crossed.
We are not here to talk about the Falcons. That'll be another podcast.
Oh God!
Stop going off on the tangent. I'm just keeping things in line now. All right, Jamie, your week been okay? You had a good week?
Yeah, the snow's been screwing with my work and everything, being a gardener and everything, which has been a bit frustrating. So I've been working probably half as much as I would like to, even in the winter. So it's a bit tough at the moment, but we'll get through it. It looks pretty outside, but it's a fucking pain in the arse, I'll tell you that.
Yep, agreed.
You want to get yourself a big snow plow and a big crown and brand yourself up a bit for keep yourself recession proof. So when there's snow on the ground, you just get the plow out and plow people's driveways.
Oh mate, I just get rock salt, bags of rock salt. No one buys any rock salt around me. I'm the only person who's had a clear driveway, and the road right outside is just a patch of clear tarmac. Everywhere else is just like ice and everything. It's like, am I the only one? Madness. Absolute madness.
I'd just like to thank our listeners. I put a little tweet out yesterday. We've with the Steve Rains Bowl, with the Podathon I've done, with other leagues for charities, we've raised over £5,000 in 2020 for cancer research, which I think
is awesome.
A massive achievement.
That's brilliant.
We will continue that fight for Steve, and sadly, obviously, we lost Chris Westlin this week as well. So rest in peace to Chris Westlin, who was fantastic writer, and I engaged with him quite a lot actually on Twitter.
Just a nice guy.
Yeah, just a nice guy, just a very nice guy. So fuck cancer, and I'm going to end the podcast there.